Mike Owens here, and today I'm joined by the Haitian sensation, Neil Magny, who's coming off one of the biggest wins of his career over Daniel Rodriguez. Neil, always a pleasure to get your time. How are things with you today?
Man, things are going great. Life is good on this side of the world, so I have zero complaints on this side at all. How are you doing?
I'm very well, my friend. Listen, you can't have many complaints when you come off such a fantastic victory just a couple of weeks ago. What are emotions like after that win?
Man, it was like it was just like any other fight almost. It was a quick emotion, like, oh my God, this is a huge opportunity. I just tied the I'm sorry, I just beat the record for most wins in welterweight. I just submitted an opponent. It was like a lot of emotions at once, but immediately after, once the dust settled, it was just like, okay, that stuff was cool, but you're not there yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like the end goal is to be a UFC champion and be up there with those guys. And though I appreciate where I am thus far, it's not the end goal yet. So as much as I appreciate it, I have to keep in mind that, like, all right, that's one more hurdle that I've crossed, but it's not the end.
Let's talk about the fight. Let's talk about the performance. Could you sum up your performance in one word? What is the key kinds of word that you think describes the win over D-Rod?
Man, the finish was the big exclamation point at the end of the fight. To go out there and get a submission win was great. Like, D-Rod hasn't been finished yet in UFC. He was riding a 4-fight losing streak, winning streak. I'm sorry, winning streak. So there was definitely, we knew going to the fight he was a tough guy, and I set the bar pretty high for myself where I really wanted to go in there and get a finish. I mean, I know for a fact I can outpace these guys. I know for a fact I can like push and win a decision, but I really wanted to go out there and like really get it done via TKO or submission going into this fight. So to have it play out that way, I'm definitely grateful for it. It shows like a lot of the cues and things that we've been working on in training camp are working out, and I should keep doing more of that. But overall, it was a great fight. I mean, D-Rod was a game opponent from beginning to end. I mean, the fact that he even took this fight initially, we were scheduled to fight October 15th, would have been a month after he had just fought Julie Yang. So the fact that he even like stepped up and was willing to fight that soon, hats off to him. He was a great opponent for sure.
I think we talked before the original booking, and then I think the week that my interview was released, it got pushed back to the 5th of November. But given you as the cardio machine, I can only presume that was in many ways an advantage to get that extra little bit of time in.
Yeah, if I'm being honest with you, the fight getting pushed back was a blessing in disguise. I mean, a lot of times as a fighter, you get annoyed when your fights get postponed or canceled or anything else like that. But for me, it was literally a blessing in disguise. I had a teammate who was struggling with a lot of things in his life personally, and he was scheduled to fight on October 14th, the day before mine. So with that being the case, I wasn't able to go out to support him in this fight or be there for him the way I wanted to. So once my fight got pushed back, it was like, oh wait, you mean I'm not fighting the 15th? Cool. Like, I'm not going to hassle about it. Let's not worry about scrapping or moving an opponent. Let's go ahead and push this fight back to the nearest date and go from there. And I was fortunate enough to be able to get that fight postponed but not canceled, and be there for my friend. I feel like so often we get so caught up in like the things that we have to get done and the fights and all that other stuff that we don't take the opportunities to actually live life and appreciate certain things. So being there to support my friend when he needed me was just the icing on the cake before the fight even happened.
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing to hear. Can we talk about the second rounds in between the second and third round, the corner advice? Because let's be honest, there was a flip, there was a change from second round. You had quite a rough second round, or certainly a back and forth second round, to a very dominant third round. Can you talk to me about the emotions, not only in the corner in between the two rounds, but also how you felt in the third round?
Yeah, so the second round, I mean, like I said, D-Rod is a gamer. He did a good job adjusting to my game plan in round one. We really capitalized on him like using that lead hook over and over and over again. And I feel like I did a good job of shutting that down in round one. And round two, he made the adjustment and switched off to a jab and was sending it right down the middle. And I caught myself thinking like, oh wow, he just hit me with a jab. It was a good one, and he hit me with three more. It's like, okay, like these shots down the middle were landing. And I just caught myself thinking of like, all right, how do I counter? How do I change this? How do I do that? And I spent way too much time thinking of what I needed to do, but not enough time just reacting to what was in front of me. So after that rough second round where arguably D-Rod probably won that round. I'm not even going to sit there and toot my own horn. He probably absolutely won that round. In between rounds 2 and 3, my coaches made it very aware that, hey, man, you're you just give up that round. This fight's way too close now. It's 1-1. You have to pick it up. And I knew that it kind of pulled me out of my funk a little bit, where I was sitting there just so worried about like how did this fight play out perfectly and technically and all this other stuff. And I started to remember like, hey, you're in a fight. Like he made an adjustment. He's getting the best of you. Go out there and fight. Bring the fight right back to him. So I knew right away that's what I had to do. So early on, he did a good job closing the distance, getting the double unders, getting the fight to the ground. He made the decision, let me back up, and I knew I couldn't allow him to get momentum back at that point. I was like, all right, here's my chance to take this fight over and find a way to end it. And I just brought it right to him.
I want to talk about the Darce choke finish because I did check the record. The first Darce finish of your professional career. I think only the second UFC submission, if memory serves. Can you talk to me about what the emotions were after you'd sunk in that Darce and ultimately felt the top?
Honestly, it was just like I spent a lot of time after my last fight, like really dialing into training. I felt like in my last training camp, I was all over the place. I was doing so many different things, and I wasn't doing anything great or anything well. I was focusing on like future endeavors and all these other stuff that had nothing to do with fighting. Where for this training camp, one of the things I wanted to do before the fight camp even started was I wanted to clear my plate and not feel like I had 1,000 things going on. And I was able to do just that. Like normally, I'll fight and I'm back in the gym on Monday. This fight, after my last fight, it took about 3 weeks off where I was like, all right, let me literally clear my plate. I want no distractions the rest of my next training camp. And once I felt like I established that, where like I didn't have all these like external distractions keeping me from the gym, keeping me from training, I just dove into my coaches. We were working so many different techniques, so many different tactics, and that kind of thing. So to go out there and get the second finish of my UFC career thus far, it was a lot of forethought, a lot of planning that went into it. It was a lot of me putting myself in uncomfortable positions, a lot of me putting myself in places and environments where I wasn't the quote unquote big dog lying around. I was like literally trying to like find every weakness and hole that I've had in my game to kind of plug and keep moving forward. Like even now, after that victory, after that submission win, I realized that the work isn't done yet. I still had to keep moving forward. So I'm right back in the gym. I'm right back with my coaches. We're right back to keeping this thing going.
When I read the news articles on the Sunday morning after the fight, and I watched the podcast that week, it seems a little bit like a lot of the pundits or a lot of the MMA journalists, the senior MMA journalists, were talking about Daniel Rodriguez losing rather than Neil Magny winning. And if you think about your last 3 wins, Jeff Neal, Max Griffin, now D-Rod, do you think you're getting the respect that you deserve for what you're currently doing in this welterweight division?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like as long as I'm here and have the opportunity, it's up to me to go out there and get it done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I guarantee if I were to be Shavkat my last fight and be D-Rod in this fight, I wouldn't even be asked for a top 5 opponent. It would be sitting in my lap right now. I'm gonna get all the recognition I would feel like I've earned at that point. But I don't spend too much time thinking about it because it's at the end of the day, I can't do anything for it. Like if I wake up Sunday morning and more people are talking about my opponent and not me, that just means I didn't do that good enough a job, and I need to go out there and do better next time. So for me, it's more of a motivating factor where and this keeps me going because if I were to woke up Monday and be like, oh my God, Neil Magny's this and that, I might have settled again. I might have got complacent again. I might have gotten to the point like, okay, cool. I'm okay with being in the position I'm in now. But like being what it is, being in the fact that like a lot of the articles Sunday morning were talking about D-Rod's loss and not my win, it lets me know like I still have work to do and I still have to keep moving forward. So I'm gonna just focus on doing just that.
There's been a lot of talk about the record that you broke, the very, very illustrious record of most wins in the UFC welterweight division. Can you talk to me about the emotions that you feel to break that record, and not only to break that record, but to break the record held by the great Georges St-Pierre?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely cool to be able to break that record and get my name out there with some of the greats that came in the sport before me. But the biggest thing is just leaving my own mark on the sport. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me. A lot of people talk about how MMA has changed over the last couple of years, and they add like, well, this politics is this, is that, all this other stuff. But like to be able to get that record that I've got now with the most wins in the welterweight division, that's just a testimony to me being blessed with opportunities and making the best of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I went out there and fought literally everyone who UFC put in front of me. I never picked and chose an opponent. I never even focused on a time frame where it's just like, oh, I have this event coming up. Let me fight a couple weeks later. I literally like molded my life around my UFC career for the last 10 years now. So to go out there and get that record ahead of GSP for the most wins in my division, it definitely means a lot to me because I know the sacrifices I put in there. And it's rewarding to see that those sacrifices aren't going unnoticed in the sense that like that's 20 opportunities for me to go out there and earn for my family. And I did that. And I came home and I was able to secure a future for him long after fighting is over. So whether or not I get the recognition from the media and my peers for setting that record, I know what that record does for my family moving forward. And I'm grateful for that.
100%. Is there other? Obviously, the ultimate goal is to win the world title belt, of course. But when we talk about these other accomplishments, you've now got a lot in the welterweight division. I think it's most decision victories, most victories. I think there may be something about longest time spent in the cage. Is there other specific accomplishments that you want to accomplish, or are they just nice to hear, but you don't really pay too much attention to?
So one of the best ways that I look at that to keep me going is like I was listening to Steve Harvey most recently, and he has this thing that he's this talk that he was talking about what he had with his father when he was younger, where his father would say like, "Hey, aim for the moon, just in case you miss, you still end up amongst the stars." And that's where I find myself now. Like I'm not saying I'm aiming for the moon just so I can like intend on missing. I'm 100% aiming toward the moon with the intent of hitting the moon and getting there. And that's where my career is now. I'm aiming for that title shot. Like I at 35 years old, I have the next 6 to 7 years to make that happen. I'm aiming for that title shot. I'm aiming for that moon, being the UFC welterweight champion. But at the end of the day, if I happen to just land amongst the stars, so to speak, and just have this series of accomplishments that I've done throughout my career, that's nothing to hang my head low about. That's something to be definitely proud about. But right now, where I'm at, like I'm still aiming for that moon. I'm still readjusting and pulling back and just firing off, trying to get to that moon spot, which is the title for me.
You looked a little bit like Alex Pereira walking to the cage, didn't you? Or the way you put your hands back. What were your thoughts on Saturday night's victory, Pereira's victory over Adesanya?
Man, that was a great fight, man. He really did. He dug deep and found a way to get it done. And one of the things that's just so bizarre to me is like, because the thought of competing at 185 has definitely crossed my mind a time or two. This is like the opportunities that presented at 185 for the 170 seems to be a little bit more there. And I was like, all right, well, I probably have the frame for 185. I can make it happen. But like seeing just how big he was going into that fight, I was just like, holy crap, I got some work to do. Like this past week, I did nothing but binge eat from like the time I got home all the way up until now. And I was like looking forward to stepping on the scale and seeing it said, like, all right, I'm probably at least 195. I stepped on the scale today and I was 186 pounds. So looking at that, I'm just like, holy crap, these guys at 185 are massive. Even though they may appear to be the quote unquote skinny guys, they're still huge. They're still 210, 215 pounds on fight night. And that's a huge difference maker when you go into these fights where it comes close. I mean, it literally came down to not even a mistake, just one perfectly executed technique on Pereira's end that led to him ultimately getting to finish against Adesanya this past weekend. And it was just crazy to see.
100%. Send the conversation back to another Brazilian. I want to talk about the guy that you called out post-fight in Gilbert Burns. Now, I think he did respond to you via Twitter and say that he has an opponent offered to him, but if that falls out, he'll fight you in Brazil. I think I've just seen this afternoon Burns tweet that he's been offered Masvidal 3 times, and 3 times Masvidal's turned him down.
I'm not even sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go on. I was just going to say, what are your thoughts on that?
Literally right before we got on this call, I was just scrolling through Instagram, just kind of wasting time. Like, all right, 3 o'clock, we have to jump on. And I came across that. I was like, oh, surprise, you're not getting a basketball fight, huh? Like, I could have told you that 3 weeks ago when I called you out that you were getting that fight. So, I mean, and it's, I know what it is at the end of the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if he's able to leverage himself to get a fight against Masvidal and it turns out to a huge payday for him, absolutely go for it and take that. But at the end of the day, like you're gonna make a bulk your living by fighting, not sitting back waiting for these perfect opportunities. So the fact that he didn't get this Masvidal fight, or he's not getting it, and he said if that point fell through, I was definitely gonna get out there. Hopefully, I get a contract this week for January 21st to fight Gilbert Burns.
You've said yes, and Gilbert Burns has said yes. But how realistic do you think the UFC will make a book on this fight? Do you think the UFC, this is a fight the UFC are interested in?
I mean, honestly, like when it comes down to it, it's 100. UFC's 100% on board. If you have two guys that say like, "Hey, I'm willing to take this fight. I'm ready to go," that fight is going to be booked. What it comes down to is management being back there and pulling the strings in favor of their client. And this is not to like to my own horn. Like I understand where the risk is involved right now. Like if I'm Gilbert Burns and I'm ranked top five, like there's not much incitement to go back and fight the number 11 guy. Like you know what I mean? Especially if it's the number 11 guy that's not going to necessarily propel me to the next level. Like if Gilbert Burns somehow gets the win against me, that doesn't say like, oh yeah, give me a title shot next. Like you know what I mean? It'll be a tough fight. And it doesn't guarantee him a title shot after that. So I can understand the hesitancy on his management's side to kind of postpone that fight and see what other offers they can come up with that will make him fighter. Go out there and fight. Go out there and create the life that you want for yourself. Like don't leave it up to your management going back there and trying to pull all these different strings, especially where we're at now. Like both Gilbert Burns are in our mid-30s right now. Like we have very limited years ahead of us in this sport. And right now, if we're healthy and we're able to go out there and compete in the best, let's go out there and compete in our prime and make the best of it. Let's not wait 8 months, 9 months, 12 months in between fights to go out there and showcase our skill sets.
What's really funny in a weird way, Neil, is we see a lot of people turn down fights. We see a lot of people, as you mentioned, hesitant to take fights. And that is obviously a headache for the UFC and for the matchmakers. But you're the exact opposite. You're maybe too excited and too happy to take these fights and to take these offers. Is this something that you're proud of, that your willingness to take, to fight anyone, anytime, anywhere, and to take on the hardest challenge?
The competition is what drives me the most. Like right now, if I was in a perfect world scenario, I know UFC doesn't do many rematches that often, but perfect world scenario, if I had my choice, I'll be fighting Shavkat next. Like that would be my goal because the competition wise, he got the best of me. Like he beat me my last fight and he did it pretty convincingly. Like you know what I mean? So competition wise, I want that back. But the realistic part is like, all right, UFC's not very into making rematches or giving guys the opportunity to go and right their wrong, so to speak. So for me, the next best challenge is Gilbert Burns. Like he's literally the best grappler, one of the best grapplers in the welterweight division right now. So if I feel like I grew to that Shavkat fight, if I feel like my game advances that Shavkat fight, I want to go out there and prove it. I want to go out there and test myself against guy Gilbert Burns and show like, hey, that Shavkat fight was a bump in the road. I've gotten better since then. It was a hiccup. Like, look where I'm at now, kind of thing. So the competition of me going out there and competing against my foes is what drives me. And if that means I can fight 5 times a year, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to leave a single stone unturned in my career where it's like, oh man, I could have fought that guy, but this happened or that happened. Like at the end of my career, like I'm one of those guys sitting back enjoying it. Like, wow, dude, I had a hell of a run. I literally did the best I could, and this is the result of it, whatever that may look like. You know what I mean? And I don't want to like sit there and regret, like, I got off of that fight, but I said no because of this. Like, I want to go out there and test myself against literally the best in the world.
Finally, from me, we've talked about the ultimate intention to raise that UFC welterweight championship around your waist. What do you need? What do you feel like you need to accomplish in 2023 to make that an attainable goal? Maybe at the end of the year or in 2024, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, 2023 for me is just like kind of keeping that momentum going. Like I showed the ability to be able to finish fights or whatever, and that's something I have to carry into 2023. Go out there and put on a show. Like you know what I mean? Like I said, I know I can outwork literally every single guy in the roster, but can I finish these guys? And that's the bar that I'm setting for myself. And if I right back to Najee's earlier. If I go out there with the intent of finishing my opponents, it's the same analogy of like shooting for the moon and ending in the stars. If I go out there and I shoot for the finish, and I end up just like, all right, cool. That was a very dominant decision where you controlled it from beginning to end, maybe a 30-26. Cool. That moves me in the right direction kind of thing. But I don't want to make it close. I don't want to make these fights close. I want to really show the world that like I turned the corner. I'm getting things dialed in with my training camp and my coaches, and I'm moving forward. And I'm definitely a top contender to be fighting for a title soon.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it was great to see you back in action last month. It was great to see you get that victory. A pleasure to catch up today as always. And if we don't speak beforehand, then enjoy both Thanksgiving and Christmas.
I appreciate Cindy as well. Well, you guys don't do Thanksgiving over there, huh?
We don't do
Enjoy Christmas.
Before we finish, Neil, how can people find you on social media and sponsors or anything like that you'd like to plug? The floor is yours for the last word.
Yeah, you guys can always find me on every social media platform at @NeilMagny_170. And if you guys get a chance, make sure you check out mission111.org. It's an organization I work with that does mission work in both Haiti and the Philippines. So if you guys get a chance, it's mission111.org.